We're looking at a thread specifically about something called, get this, Kino Casino.
Kino Casino.
Okay, so like my brain immediately goes to, is this a real casino?
I wish.
Are there like slot machines themed around, I don't know, Ethan Ralph's online meltdowns or something?
Not a real casino, unfortunately.
Okay.
More like this is going to sound kind of strange, but like a bizarre online event that's organized by people who are, for whatever reason, deeply invested in documenting and commenting on every single thing that Ethan Ralph does.
Okay, that already is a little...
It's a little out there.
Yeah.
They call it, this process, they call it a logging, which is short for like archiving and logging.
Logging, okay.
Yeah.
So they're like chronicling his every move.
Yeah, every move, every word.
Wow.
And it gets incredibly detailed.
That's kind of creepy, right? Like you're spending all this time on someone that you supposedly dislike.
Yeah, it's a thriller.
Is Kino Casino this event? Is it just like a big elaborate way to make fun of the guy?
I mean, there's definitely an element of that to it,
Yeah.
but it's more complicated than just straight up mockery, you know?
Right.
They're fascinated by him,
Right.
even if that fascination comes from a place of negativity.
Okay.
They analyze his behavior, they dissect his relationships, and they create this like whole narrative around him
So they're like chronicling his life in a way.
in a very particular way.
Okay, because I'm looking at this thread and someone calls him, get the goose laying the Golden Lulia.
Ah, yes.
I need a translation.
Of course.
Because that's some next level internet slang right there.
Right. And this is a great example of how these communities, they develop their own language, right?
Yeah.
They have their own inside jokes, their own coded references that, like, if you're not in the know, it just sounds like complete nonsense.
It's like its own dialect.
Exactly.
Okay, so what is Lulia? What is a Golden Lulia?
So in this context, Lulia basically translates to laugh.
Yeah.
It's their slang for laugh. They see Ethan Ralph as this like endless source of amusement, and they've built this whole like ecosystem around him.
It's like they have their own little reality show.
In a way.
And they're both the audience and the producers at the same time.
Exactly.
Because I'm also seeing, like, there's a trailer for this Kino Casino thing.
Oh yeah, the trailer.
And it's got cornfields. There's a lot of cornfields.
Yeah, the cornfields are a whole other story.
Okay, we might have to unpack that at some point. But what's interesting to me is even within the thread, there's debate about the event itself.
Oh, absolutely.
People are complaining about the lineup, about the production value. Like, they have standards for this thing.
Right.
It's designed to mock someone, but they want it to be good.
They want it to be high quality.
They're invested not just in the drama, but in the quality of the drama.
Exactly. And that's where it gets really fascinating.
Okay.
Why this investment in someone that they claim to dislike?
Right.
What does it say about online communities, about us?
Yeah.
About how we consume, you know, negativity and entertainment?
It's this weird, like, parasocial relationship, but like a negative one.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we are going to unpack all of that, get into the nitty-gritty of this whole thing right after we take a quick break.
Sounds good.
All right. So we're back, and we are ready to really, like, go down this rabbit hole, right?
Down the rabbit hole indeed.
This whole, like, Ethan Ralph and the world that has sprung up around him online.
Yeah. So to understand what's going on with this Kino Casino thing and all the people involved, we kind of have to talk about Ethan Ralph himself.
Okay.
Like, what kind of person inspires this level of attention?
Right, because the forum doesn't exactly paint him in the most flattering light.
Let's just say he's a, how do I put this delicately, a magnet for controversy.
Magnet for controversy. That might be an understatement based on what I'm reading here.
Yeah.
Someone even called this event an intervention, which I have to say is hilarious,
It is kind of funny.
but also maybe a little concerning.
Yeah, it's this weird mix of like amusement and maybe a little bit of concern that runs through this whole thread. You know, they mock him relentlessly, his appearance, his projects, his personal life, nothing's off limits.
Yeah, they really don't hold back.
But at the same time, there's this undercurrent of, dare I say, fascination.
It's like they can't look away from a train wreck, but they're the ones who set the train on fire.
Exactly, exactly. And that's what makes the psychology of these online spaces so interesting, right? It's more than just humor, right? It's about belonging. It's about having this shared target for their, let's say, unique brand of attention.
Okay, speaking of attention, there's a lot of talk about someone called Jim in this thread.
Oh, yes, Jim.
Who's Jim in all of this?
So Jim, at least from what I can gather from this thread, seems to be this like mysterious figure who's been documenting Ethan Ralph for like years. Like he's the OG Ethan Ralph chronicler.
He's like the, what do you call it, the scholar?
Yes.
Yeah, the Ethan Ralph.
The authority. He's
yeah.
like a legend in the world of Kiwi Farms.
Because people are saying that, like, I would rather hear Jim's commentary than anyone else's. Like, he is the
ultimate authority.
The ultimate authority on all things Ethan Ralph.
Exactly. It's like they've built this hierarchy of knowledge within this community, right?
Right.
The longer you've been following the saga, the deeper your understanding, the more, like, weight your voice carries in these discussions.
So it's like they created their own little fandom, but instead of fan fiction, it's meticulously compiled timelines of every misstep in Public Meltdown.
Right, and let's not forget, they have a very specific and often baffling sense of humor.
Okay, give me an example.
Okay, so someone's joking about wanting a kayfabe Jim to show up at this event.
A kayfabe Jim?
Kayfabe, essentially it means like a staged or exaggerated persona, like in professional wrestling, right?
Okay, so they want like a fake Jim.
They want someone to play up the Jim character for like even more absurdity.
Like layers upon layers of irony and meta commentary.
Exactly, which brings us back to the Kino Casino lineup. Right, because they're not just interested in Ethan Ralph himself, right?
Right.
They're invested in this whole spectacle, the supporting cast of characters, if you will.
And they have opinions, strong opinions, about who should be included or not included in this event.
Oh, absolutely. They're very passionate about this.
Because they're like calling out specific people like Queen of Pole, Kraut, Jarbo.
Yeah, it's like they're casting a movie almost.
Yeah, and one user said it's like inviting the Harlem Globetrotters to play against a team of toddlers. Like, they're very
specific about the power dynamics
yes.
of this event.
So it really does highlight this strange mix of like detachment and investment that we've been talking about.
Exactly.
Where they're simultaneously mocking the event and like meticulously curating it, right?
Yes.
Arguing over who deserves a spot in this bizarre online roast.
It's fascinating because you're right. It's like they're trying to craft the perfect storm of internet drama.
Yeah.
With just the right mix of personalities and conflicts.
Right. And so it becomes more than just a hate fest.
It's
this weird, like, meta commentary on internet culture itself.
And that's what makes this whole exploration of Kiwi Farms and this Kino Casino thing so compelling, right?
Yes.
It's not just about some forum making fun of some guy.
Right.
It's about the motivations, the dynamics, this, like, intricate web of relationships and these power struggles that are playing out in these online spaces.
It's a microcosm for, like, internet culture as a whole, in a way.
Exactly. And it makes you wonder, like, why are we so drawn to this kind of drama?
Right. What is it about these online communities that make us want to, like, dissect them, analyze them?
And even be entertained by them.
Yeah, even be entertained by them, because there is something oddly compelling about all of this. We're going to get into that.
We have to unpack that.
Right after this. It's like we're talking about this whole, like, curated chaos thing, right?
Yeah, it's like, it's a fascinating paradox.
It really?
Where they seem to revel in all this negativity, all this drama. But like you said, they also have these like internal standards, these unspoken rules about what makes for good drama, what's entertaining.
Yeah, it's not just about tearing someone down.
Right.
It's about doing it in a way that's like entertaining for them. And I think that's a really important distinction.
Yeah, it speaks to this like deeper desire for control, for structure, even in these like seemingly chaotic spaces online.
Totally. It's like they're building a narrative.
Yes.
And they need all the pieces to fit just right. But
I'll be the first to tell you if they don't.
oh, yeah.
Oh, absolutely.
This whole thing about meticulously documenting Ethan Ralph's life, that's where it gets a little unsettling for me. They call it a logging.
A logging, yeah. Short for archiving and logging.
Okay.
And it's more than just like casual observation at this point.
Right.
We're talking like detailed timelines, compilations of all his online activity, analysis of his personal relationships. It's really something.
So it's like, okay, it's one thing to be like, oh yeah, I follow this person online. I think they're kind of a train wreck. But this is like next level.
Oh yeah, this is like digital anthropology almost.
Yeah, but anthropology usually involves consent.
Oh, yeah.
Like from people being studied.
Right.
This is more like, I don't know, like a digital stalker's scrapbook or something, it feels.
Yeah, the ethics of a logging are, I think it's safe to say they're murky. They're definitely murky.
Yeah, it's this weird gray area.
Because on the one hand, right, you could argue that anyone who puts themselves out there online, they're fair game for public scrutiny to a certain extent.
Right, you're putting yourself out there.
Right, but the level of detail, the obsessive tracking,
Yeah, it's a little much.
it's a lot.
Yeah.
It really blurs the lines between like observation and intrusion.
Especially when you consider that these threads are full of, like, really personal attacks, insults, really cruel humor sometimes. It's one thing to analyze someone's public persona, but this feels different. You know, like they're trying to dissect his entire life piece by piece.
And that's where I think the question of responsibility comes in, right?
Yeah, where do we draw the line?
Even if we're just passive observers of these communities, we're still contributing to the ecosystem.
Right.
Our clicks, our views, our engagement, it all kind of like feeds this machine.
So what's the takeaway here? How do we engage in these spaces, these online spaces, and have it feel ethical and responsible and, frankly, not creepy?
That's the million-dollar question, right?
It really is.
I think it starts with awareness.
Okay.
Like understanding the motivations that are at play, understanding how these communities function, the dynamics,
The power structures, the
hierarchies, exactly, and understanding like what are the potential consequences of our own engagement.
Right. Like, we're not just passive consumers, we're active participants in this.
Exactly. And I think it's also about asking ourselves, like, why am I drawn to this? What purpose does it serve for me to be consuming this content? And am I comfortable with the role that I'm playing in this whole thing?
Right. And I think, it's like that saying, like, if you're not paying to the product, you are the product.
100%.
And in this case, our attention, our fascination with these online dramas, that's the currency.
Essentially. Exactly.
So I think, the next time you find yourself clicking on a thread about some internet controversy,
take a beat.
Take a beat, yeah.
And just reflect.
Yeah.
Ask yourself, like, am I here for a genuine discussion? Am I here because I'm concerned, or am I just, feeding the beast?
Am I just here for the mess?
Exactly.
Well, on that note, I think we've done a pretty good job dissecting this whole thing.
I think so.
The world of Kiwi Farms, this Kino Casino event, it's been a wild ride. Lots of strange twists and turns, baffling terminology.
Plenty of that.
More than a few moments where I was like, wait, what is going on?
Right. But amidst all the absurdity, I think, hopefully, we've uncovered some valuable insights into, just internet culture at large.
How these communities operate.
The allure of online drama. And then also these, like, ethical dilemmas that we bump up against when we're talking about, like, online interactions, digital lives.
When our digital lives collide, which they increasingly do.
More and more every day.
This has been The Deep Dive. Thank you so much for listening.
Thank you.
And remember, the internet's a weird place, but it's our job to navigate it thoughtfully.